story of fighters is the story of warriors whose skill and guts have inspired generations of pilots, whose exploits win wars, whose fighting experience pushed aircraft designers to create the technology base for world aviation. The pattern persists. Technological advances improve the performance of fighter aircraft. New tactics emerge, and they're put to the test in the thick of air combat. It is the dogfight that will determine whether specific new advances work or can be defeated. Sopwiths battling Fokkers over the trenches of France. Half a century later, F-4 Phantoms facing MiG-17s and MiG-21s in Vietnam. Each war brings with it a new mission for the fighter. But the objective has remained constant from World War I through Vietnam: to gain air superiority. As you see the history of air-to-air combat unfold, remember the immortal words of World War II German ace Adolf Galland. Words that have become a benchmark for fighter squadrons worldwide, emblazoned on plaques, displayed in ready rooms, engraved in the hearts and minds of fighter pilots. Only the spirit of attack, born in a brave heart, will bring success to any fighter aircraft, no matter how highly developed it may be. The way the fighter pilot and his aircraft evolved between World War I and the Vietnam conflict seems, in hindsight, easy to describe in the context of war. But as the 20th century ends, air warfare is changing yet again. Now, in the split-second world of Mach 2 closing speeds and higher, pilots can't wait for the merge to attack. They have radars and weapons that make a kill more certain, and in any quadrant, including head-on. Their workloads are so intense that without the technology of a modern cockpit, they could not fly or fight. For a quarter century, the Lockheed SR-71 Blackbird has been the fastest, highest-flying airplane in the world. Its mission: to provide the foreknowledge that will prevent war from starting, or that will bring an outbreak of fighting to a swift, successful conclusion. Months of preparation and weeks of specific planning were coming to a climax in the early hours of January 17, 1991. A powerful force of allied countries, led by the United States, was about to launch the attack on Iraq and Iraqi troops that had taken neighboring Kuwait. A war was about to begin. A war unlike any in history. A war where modern technology would catch up with military theory. The first war where air power almost exclusively would decide the outcome.
Soviet Sukhoi 27 fighter interceptor, NATO codename Flanker. U.S. Air Force F-16 Falcon fighter. U.S. Navy F-14 Tomcat fighter interceptor. U.S. Navy FA-18 Hornet fighter. U.S. Air Force F-15 Eagle, fighter. Soviet MiG-29 fighter, NATO codename Fulcrum. These 6 airplanes are the ones intended to rule the skies, the top-of-the-line fighters from the world's 2 major air powers. They are lethal fighting machines with awesome firepower and weapon systems.
In this program, you'll see the spectacle, flying drama, and hardware that makes air shows so popular and gave so many people insight into the future flying battlefield of the Gulf War.
An aircraft carrier. In this case, a supercarrier on one of the world's 7 seas, on deployment with more than 5,000 officers and men for more than half a year. A self-sufficient, fast-moving, floating airbase, remarkable for that. And because, as one commander put it, it's like steering Manhattan Island around from the top of the Empire State Building. What is more remarkable is the skill that goes into making it do what it does, despite being as small as it is. A veteran pilot described the flight deck as O'Hare and Washington National Airports at peak hours, squeezed into a few basketball courts. A tight and dangerous environment in which inches or inattention can mean catastrophe. But, he added, think of it also as the most formidable floating weapons system ever devised.